In this segment, we will discuss the epigenetic and its role in the genetic syndromes in the human population. Now, the human genetic conditions, they has had a major impact not only by providing a better understanding of the pathogenesis of diseases, but also helping to elucidate the function of the proteins. That is, what are the function of different proteins which cause these diseases, which cause these dilemmas. And epigenetic, as a matter of fact, is playing a main role to study these genetic conditions in human beings. Let's take that if we discuss the growing number of genetic syndromes जो हैं in the defining the function of the component of chromatin, chromatin का function है, and the enzymes और enzyme जो कि उसको modify करती हैं chromatin को. And by the way, what are enzymes? Enzymes are protein, the specific protein. तो ये इन दोनों का क्या खेल है, कैसे खेलते हैं? So chromatin remodeling, that can be, example can be X-linked and alpha thalassemia, mental retardation, ATRX syndrome. Now, इसमें क्या होता है कि mutation in ATRX, they give rise to an X-linked syndrome. X-linked जो है उसके साथ जो syndrome है उसको ये rise करते हैं, and they are associated with severe mental retardation. तो mental retardation में mutation in ATRX is involved with X-linked. Now, so उसमें क्या होता है कि also this retardation of ATRX syndrome, that is the microcephaly characteristics, faces, खास किस्म के चेहरों की बनावट, genital abnormalities and alpha thalassemia disease में ये involve होते हैं. For example, here we see the mutation in ATRX that is associated with changes in DNA methylation. आप देखें ये दोनों जो लड़के हैं, they are not related. ये आपस में इनकी कोई रिश्तेदारी नहीं, but there are specific facial characteristics, होंठों की बनावट, आँखों की बनावट, चेहरा, and they all indicate that these are the facial mutation, the facial indication of changes in the DNA methylation. Although, remember, their genetic makeup, their DNA sequence, that will be the same. वो एक ही होगा. लेकिन because they are mutation and methylated at different position due to the epigenetic. Now, both hypomethylation and hypermethylation, they are observed and suggest ATRX plays a role in establishing and maintaining the pattern of DNA methylation. कि इसकी जो ATRX gene की जो mutation है, that plays a role in this. Now, another important thing, that is chemico-immuno-osseous dysplasia, SIOD, that is a autosomal recessive disorder. और इसमें क्या होता है कि diagnostic features of epiphysealized dysplasia, that is the renal dysfunction, skin pigmentation, episodic cerebral ischemia and T cell इसमें जो है वो abnormal होते हैं, and then immunodeficiency communicating in the childhood. कि childhood में ये सारी जो mutations हैं ये उसमें क्या diagnostic features जो है वो indicate कर देते हैं कि skin की pigmentation हो गई है, renal dysfunction हो गया है जी. So these all, they are the indicative of SIOD. Now it is associated, SIOD is associated in a mutation with SW1, SNF2 related matrix, which is associated with actin-dependent regulator or action-dependent regulator of chromatin. इसमें ये होता है. Hence, there is a putative chromatin remodeling enzyme. के remodeling enzyme जो है वो produce होती है. Now another is that the DNA methylation. If we see the facial immunodeficiency, centromeric instability, and the facial anomalies, ICF syndrome. And it is shown in this picture that a rare autosomal recessive condition that usually present with a tendency to recurrent infectious and unusual faces. अब आप देखें कि इन बच्चों के जो चेहरे हैं, इस बच्चे का चेहरा जो है, दिस इज़ अनयूजुअल. इसमें एक नॉर्मल नहीं है, अनयूजुअल चेहरा आपको नजर आता है. तो दैट इज द इंडिकेशन ऑफ द एबनॉर्मैलिटी. नो जनरली for 4.96% of ISF cases or 4,096 of ICF cases, they have mutations are detected in the highly conserved catalytic domain of the DNA. ये जो हैं जो कैटालिटिक कंजर्व है डीएनए का, उसमें ये चेंजेस आती हैं. एंड डीएनए मेथाइल ट्रांसफरेज डीबी DNTMT3B gene is involved in the de novo DNA methylation. De novo mean originally the newly constructed DNA methylation. Now another important thing is that the methylation of the Rett syndrome. Now, Rett syndrome is RTT OMIM 3127 and 50 is a severe developmental disorder affecting females. जो बच्चियाँ होती हैं, जो कि फीमेल बच्चियाँ हैं, it affects the female with an incidence of approximately, recurrence आप देखें, is not so big, but even then, it is 1 to 15,000. That in the 15,000, there will be a severe neurodevelopmental disorder which will affect these. So this syndrome is associated with, again, mutation in X-linked gene, जो कि MECP2 XQ28 है, and which encode the methyl CpG binding protein 2. Again, the methylation of the DNA at a specific area. Now, there is another modification of histones coughing Lowry syndrome, CLS. And CLS is actually an X-linked form of severe mental retardation. Severe mental retardation which is associated with characteristic faces. इसका face जो है वो characteristic होता है. Widely eyes opening, jaws opening, microcephaly, and all these. So CLS is associated with mutation in the ribosomal protein H6 kinase gene, and the histone 11H3 may be a indirect target of RSK2. कि RSK2 क्या करता है? जो histone H3 है उसको change करता है, उसके ऊपर वो करता है. So we saw in this presentation that how different forms of the genetic inherited diseases, or they can be studied and they can be diagnosed.